Crystal, have you listened to our voicemail lately? Blowing up.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad that people actually found the voicemail and they're actually using the voicemail because I love other people's stories and learning from other people. Because hey, now Scotland's on my list.
Oh, it's going to be even more on your list, I think, after today, because back on episode 1, Doug shared his adventure to Scotland, and we asked you about your travels to the Highlands. And man, you did not disappoint. If you're
Yes.
dreaming of a trip to the land of castles, Nessie, festivals, Scotch whiskey, we're going to fuel all those dreams on today's show.
And at the end of this episode and every episode, you'll hear our gear of the day pick. So if you're looking for best in class gear that's worth the price, you want to head to our Amazon page, and that's at stackingadventures.com/gear of the day, or in short form, what was it? It wasn't hieroglyphics, shorthand slash GOTD. Remember shorthand?
Yeah, but hieroglyphics, where'd that come from?
I don't know. Egypt's gotta be an adventure coming up next.
Oh, yeah.
But you'll help the show and you'll help yourself adventure better and for less money.
Ready for adventure? From vacation to staycation, and from the mountains to the beach. This is the Stacking Adventures podcast.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Stacking Adventures podcast, where we head around the world with our adventure community to stack memories we'll remember forever
And ever.
and ever. She's Crystal Hammond.
And I'm not gonna say Joe. He's Joe. It just sounds so natural.
Well, Crystal, today we are going to play some calls from the community, because we got a bunch of people who have been to Scotland and could help you dream about your next trip to Scotland. And Crystal, you've never been to Scotland.
I've never been to Scotland, but I love hearing the stories just because I like to plan, because that way when you're listening to other people's stories, you can say, okay, I love to walk. I want to do that. I hate walking. I won't do that. But a lot of people, there's been a common theme about the weather and packing and what to pack, because they have bipolar weather apparently. So that's something you would never know unless you talk to the source. Instead of just, of course, you're going to look on the internet, but you definitely need to talk to people who have been there. I don't want to do things the hard way. So talking to people that have been there, that's my cheat code.
And it's a great cheat code, right? I mean, this idea of just immersing myself in it before I go. I also think it makes it more delicious when you do go. Because when you get there, you've been dreaming about it for so long. In fact, I heard a very wise person once tell me that when you book a trip, booking it like a week before or 2 weeks before isn't as worth the money as booking it like a year at a time. And the reason is because dreaming about it for a year makes it that much more. Like, you have so much fun dreaming about going there. So today, let's dream about going to Scotland. Gwen, our friend, easy for me to say. Our friend Gwen got married, and she and her new husband, Tim, they took their honeymoon to Scotland. And let's kick this off with our friend Gwen. Now, Gwen Joyner. Hey, Gwen.
Hey, Stackers. Gwen here from Fire and Millennials. My new husband and I flew to Scotland in August 2024 for our honeymoon, and we would like to share our adventure with you. We spent 6 days in Edinburgh thanks to points for our Hilton hotel, and then we spent 3 days in the Northern Highlands. So for Edinburgh, my thoughts on that are that there is easy public transportation all around, and especially to and from the airport. There's buses that leave all the time. You can even take the light rail in, and then Edinburgh's pretty easy to walk around in. August.
I'm going to stop this a few times as we go. By the way, Gwen, they're adventurers. Not stackers.
I mean,
stackers
we stack
is
adventures too.
Well, I guess we could be stackers, but
no, we're the other stackers.
I think definitely being adventurers. But I've been to Edinburgh, Crystal, and I totally
Ah.
agree with Gwen. It's easy to get around. Now, she took a plane directly to Edinburgh, and I do know and can verify what she said, as if we wouldn't believe Gwen in the first place. Of course we would. But also getting there by train is also really easy. The
Oh.
train station is right in the middle of town. It's super easy to get from the train station anywhere. If you're staying in central Edinburgh, it is very, very easy to get from the train station to wherever you need to go. We took the train directly from London. It was a beautiful train trip. So if you're going London to Edinburgh, make sure you book your tickets well ahead of time. There was, when we went, two different ways to book tickets. You can just book a seat on the train, which means you just take whatever seat's available, or you can choose a higher class seat where you get a specific seat. I would choose the specific seat. I had
Mm.
one trip in England where we were headed from London to Birmingham, Birmingham, as we say in
Ham.
America, and I had to stand for about an hour and a half
Oh.
because the train was just packed and we hadn't booked a seat. So,
Oh.
so there's that. But anyway, so back to Gwen.
And she used
In
points.
Edinburgh is the Fringe Festivals, which is one of the largest arts festivals in the world. So it gets crazy busy, but there's tons of events, live comedy, shows, all sorts of things to see, and for very reasonable prices. We ended up seeing 3 comedy shows when we came in at the end of August. We thoroughly enjoyed ourselves, and it's a very different vibe in Edinburgh during the Fringe Festival and afterwards. Um, if you come in during the Fringe, I would advise walking around and scoping out places that look interesting to eat and then trying to book them for future meals. Because if you do not have a booking or reservation, you might not be able to get a table because everywhere is so crazy busy. So be prepared and try and plan ahead of time if you can. Uh,
I'm going to stop her right there
Mm.
because we also went to the festival. Now,
Really?
it is in August, like Gwen said. I cut it off at a weird spot, so you might not have heard that it's in August. She talks about the Fringe Festival. There's actually, Crystal, 2 festivals going. There is a thing just called the festival,
Mhm.
and the festival is an official festival. It's up at the castle, the main, big, beautiful Edinburgh castle. And they take the central courtyard of the castle, they put up stands, and then they have this performance, this amazing performance. You have to get tickets to the real festival way, way, way ahead of time.
Mhm.
Or you can do what Cheryl did, which is you can get in a line each day, early in the day, and camp out. And if there's any people that give tickets back, any organizations that give tickets back, you can get those. It was funny because when we were at the festival, I told Cheryl, I said, there's no way you're going to get those. And she's like, I'm going to get up. Crystal got up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and she went and she stood, and the
Oh.
thing wasn't opening until about 8 a.m. She was third in line,
Oh.
and I believe only 4 people got tickets, and she was the third one. And our family ended up sitting halfway up at about where the 50-yard, we had the best seats, halfway up,
Wow.
like the 50-yard line. And it was all these different drum lines. And I remember this
Wow.
one, it was a Swiss drum line. And they did this thing where they're in a row and they are playing on their drums, and then all of a sudden they're playing on the person's next to them drum, and then the person over here's drums. They would flip their one of their sticks in the air all at the same time. They would all twirl, and the person 2 people down from them would catch it and play it. And it was so amazing to watch these drum lines and these different things in the main festival. But if you want to go to the main festival, you either have to get tickets way early, or you have to wait in this line, and make sure you get there super early like Cheryl did. And even then, you might not get tickets.
What were the crowds like? Because is this comparable to going to New Orleans during Mardi Gras, or was it like more, I would say, like a concert kind of thing?
Now, what Gwen said is spot on. It was crazy. In
Hmm.
fact, we booked a few months ahead of time a hotel, but we got what we think might have been the last place to get. We stayed with our kids who were maybe about 8 years old at that point. We stayed with our kids in rooms above a bar. And because it was the festival, it was crazy. In fact, we would come down to go exploring every morning, and they would be hosing down the bar. And there were still a few drunk people hanging out at the bar from the night before. We would go to bed. We got used to going to bed with it being so loud in our room because they'd have a band playing. They'd have all kinds of craziness. But getting a hotel during the festival was difficult. So the Fringe is all of these other things. If you don't go to the main festival, by the way, one more thing about the main festival. When you go to the main festival and you sit there and you're watching these drum lines or these kids dancing or whatever it is, and then you look off to your right and you are in Edinburgh Castle and it's all beautiful lit up at night. Oh my God. It was a long time ago. And I still remember it like it was yesterday because it's one of those moments where you're like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm watching this stuff in Edinburgh Castle.
In 3D.
Yes. So there is this Fringe festival of other acts, like Gwen said, going on. And we went and saw 3 or 4. And to Gwen's point, those tickets, easy to get and very cheap. We saw a musical group that played the most beautiful music. In fact, there was another group of performers just in the street playing music, and I bought their CD, and they were really good. Just this really, really good Scottish band. And a couple of the acts we saw also were taking place in the street. And I'll give you an example of 2. One was a guy who actually was from Kansas City. And all he did, Crystal, we walk up, and there's a circle of people, and there's nobody in the middle of the circle. And we're just sitting there. And then I realize everybody's watching one dude, and it's this guy from Kansas City. And whenever anybody would walk by, he would jump up and he would walk behind them, and he could mimic the way they walk. So funny. And then the person would look behind them to see, what's going on behind me. And he would look behind him too. And everybody would laugh. And so he starts off with almost no crowd. And then, like a moving van came, I remember, and they're taking stuff out of the back of the truck. And one guy's handing it to another guy, and he's standing behind that guy, and he's asking the guy to hand him the stuff too. Somebody comes by and they have these big parcels, and he's pretending like he's carrying big parcels. It was so funny watching this guy. And of course, what they do, these street performers, they just then pass the hat at the end, right?
Of course.
And you pay them.
That's cool.
The second one, there were these jugglers. These jugglers were amazing. They were juggling swords. They're juggling, torches, lit torches.
Yep.
But they put a guy on top of a guy on top of a guy, and then they're juggling bowling balls all the way up to the top, right? And all the way back down. Well, the people get down, and the main guy with this juggling group convinces, he goes over to this elderly woman and a guy who's maybe in his 50s. And you find out that this woman, it's her son, and they've traveled from somewhere else in Europe, and they're tourists. And he asks the older woman, "Can I borrow your camera for this?" And the guy goes, no, I don't think so. I mean, these are jugglers, right? And it's an expensive looking camera. And he's like, everything's gonna be fine. It's gonna be great. And the woman is like, yeah, take my camera. And her son is trying to convince her not to. Don't give these guys your camera. That's an expensive camera. And finally, she agrees. So they get back up, one guy on top of another guy on top of another guy. They start juggling the bowling balls. And then with the bowling balls, they take the camera and they send this up. And now they've got these huge, heavy balls and this camera. And one by one, they let down the bowling balls, and they take the camera and they flip it way high in the air, like way, way, way high in the air. And the guy reaches out his hand and he misses it. He misses it by about half a foot. The camera goes down and splats on the ground, and it is in pieces, Crystal, all over the place. And there now maybe 100, 150 people watching. and you could hear a pin drop, and this dude is so pissed. He's so upset. And the woman, they're horrified because these people broke their camera.
Yeah.
Like, it is just, it was so tense. And the main juggler guy who had convinced them to let them use the camera, he goes, "I'm so sorry. I am so sorry." And the guy, you can tell the guy's very mad. The son is very, very, very mad. And the woman is very upset. And the guy goes, "I don't know that this will make it any better." But he goes over to the side where they have the suitcase. And he goes, "I don't know if this will make it any better, but maybe you could have one of these." And he opens it up, and they have 50 cameras in the suitcase that looks exactly like this one.
Oh my goodness.
And then he reaches in there, and at one point he had swapped out their camera for a fake one. And it was so good.
Oh man.
But anyway, that's the type of entertainment you see at the Fringe Festival. I highly recommend it. It's going to be super crazy, super chaotic, heck of a time to go. But I'm completely with Gwen. If you see a place you want to eat, you're probably not going to be able to eat there that night. Because to your point, Crystal, it was so busy.
Yeah, like she said, booking. Make sure you get a booking. They call them bookings. I like the different, vocabulary. Instead of reservation, get a booking.
Get a booking. Yes. And have some biscuits, which are cookies, right?
Right.
All right. Back to Gwen.
I would say overall, Edinburgh is very allergy friendly. They have lots of vegan and gluten-free options around, and you should be able to find something even in the smallest of towns. There is a National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh, and they have a rooftop where you can go up for free and get amazing 360-degree views of the rest of the city. So would highly recommend going there for both the views and the exhibits they have in the museum. They are really cool to wander around and see important artifacts from Scotland's history. It is free, but donations are accepted. So, we kicked in our share. And then the last thing for Edinburgh is I would say that Arthur's Seat is an extinct volcano and is on the eastern side of Edinburgh, and is an extinct volcano. So it's a good climb, and would recommend if you have a nice day outside while you're in Edinburgh. So for the Highlands, we did a 3-day tour with the Harry Coo tour bus company. I would say that it's great if you don't want the hassle of driving and you want somebody to tell you all about Scottish history, which can get kind of dark at times, but is quite interesting to listen to. We got to pet and feed a Highland cow, or the Harry Coo. 10 out of 10.
Coo.
No notes. Would highly recommend. We stopped at basically a rest stop in, I think, Perthshire, and they had Highland cows that you could feed in a paddock around the back gas station and restaurant.
That's funny. I think those are those hairy cows that Doug was referring to as well.
Oh yeah, he sent a picture too.
Yeah, just beautiful,
Really good.
beautiful.
Good, those things had good hair days. That's all I remember about the cows. They're good hair days. I was like,
Yeah,
it looks like a toupee. People
every time
pay
she
good
says
money for that.
Every time she says the Harry Coo Company, though, I get the heebie-jeebies, Crystal. Well, I'm not sure about the Harry Coo tour.
Are we a R-rated podcast now?
I don't. We not really sure what that whole thing means. It is interesting. I like the idea that she took the tour, though.
Yeah.
Like we said before, somebody, telling you about the things, making sure you go to stuff that is going to be worth seeing. Is super cool.
And the review, that's a good review of the tour,
Yeah, agreed. Let's go back to Gwen.
The Eastern Highlands are pretty nondescript. It's the Western Highlands that have all the riz and all the dramatic mountain scenery that you think of when you think of the Highlands. Our tour only allowed us to spend 1 day on the Isle of Skye, and while it was absolutely gorgeous and stunning, I would have really appreciated to spend at least 2 days on the island because it's just impossible to get everything in on 1 day.
When Doug was at the Isle of Skye, if you remember, he thought he got the last lodging again,
Yeah.
you really want to book ahead of time. You want to book as soon as you can, because it sounds like from Doug, there's also big crowds at Isle of Skye. I think though, Crystal, that may depend on the point of the time of year. We'll hear from Amanda later, and she's got a way to beat the crowds.
Oh.
Yeah. But back to Gwen.
And I think the highlight of the Highlands part for me was Glencoe Valley. It was absolutely stunning and is where Skyfall was filmed. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you might enjoy the Harry Potter Jacobite steam train that comes through on the viaduct. But I thought it was slightly overrated, and lots of people were there. So your mileage may vary depending on how big of a Harry Potter fan you are. Overall, I would say pack layers. The weather is unpredictable. It rains 1 minute, stops raining. You walk around, you get warm. You want to shed layers. You sit down, you do something, you get cool. You won't put on layers. And then I would advise, if you're doing that, to use wool. It's water resistant, dries quick, and is antimicrobial. So even after walking 20,000 steps, my socks didn't smell funny at all. And then I would say most places accept tap to pay and credit cards. So cash isn't necessarily relevant if you don't want to deal with the hassle of getting cash and then getting rid of it at the end. Enjoy Scotland.
Thanks, Gwen.
That was fabulous. And Gwen also, going back to Doug, for people that didn't listen to this, that viaduct, the Harry Potter viaduct, Doug also said it was overrated. A lot of people there.
Too many people.
Yeah, not what he had hoped for. So, good stuff. I don't know. Edinburgh, though, the festival, your mileage may vary. If you don't mind big crowds, it's super duper fun. It's a great time, but man, do you have to plan really, really, really early. For us, it was worth it. I'd love to go back to Edinburgh, though, Crystal, when the festival's not on, to see what, you know what I mean? Because there were so many crowds. Everything was so crowded and it was chaotic, and a blast, but I'd love to be there a different time of year to get a real feel for the city.
Yeah. Because then it's also one thing I'd look out for is like the service, because you're going to get totally different service. Like, to use a simple example, New Orleans, if you go during Mardi Gras, you're going to have a totally different experience off season, but there is no off season apparently in New Orleans. It's always wild, but that is something to keep in mind, because and prices too.
I was thinking about that last year when you and I were, last time we were together was in New Orleans at FinCon. And it was crazy, but it was Halloween.
Halloween. Yep.
Crystal, we're halfway through today's show, so I think it's time for our road trip pit stop. On the pit stop here, I was dreaming about what's at the end of Adventure. How cool is it going to be when we get there? Are we there yet? Our pit stop's always a hint at our gear of the day, and you can see past gears of the day. We've had some great gear of the day already at stackingadventures.com/gear of the day or GOTD. stackingadventures.com/GOTD. So, Crystal, it's your turn for the gear. What's our hint?
All right. So you may not think of this as essential. I think of it as mostly essential, but this item, it hangs out with you on every adventure. It's making sure you're prepared. It doesn't take up a lot of space, but it's there. It's there when you need it. You'll definitely be glad you have it. Keeps you cool under pressure, I'd also say. So adventurers like to explore, so it would be pretty helpful. Is that a good enough?
So there's Crystal's hint. I will have my guess when we get back. We're going to hear Crystal's answer at the end of the show, but let's take a couple minutes while we listen to our sponsors who make the show possible, and we'll see what my guess is, and you guys can formulate yours.
Yeah, BRB.
So, Crystal, your hint was it helps us prepare. It's always with us. We're happy that we have it. We can stay cool with it.
Yep.
You know what's funny is at first I thought it was a packing list
Oh.
when you were talking, but now I think it's an umbrella. But
Oh, that's a good guess.
we will see at the end of the episode what we got.
Under my umbrella.
All right, we had another friend call in, and this is our friend Stephanie McCullough. Stephanie is one of our favorite financial planners at Sophia
Thank
Financial. And Stephanie was hanging out with us online, and I was super happy to see that not only did she listen to the show, but she left this voicemail about an adventure she had in Scotland. Hey, Stephanie.
Thanks.
I have cousins who live in Scotland, and a few years ago we went to visit them. One day we were driving from where they live in Dumfries over to visit Edinburgh, and they decided it was time for lunch. So we pulled into a very nondescript parking lot, and by the time I turned around, they had popped the boot, the trunk of the car, pulled out a folding picnic table and benches and chairs and coolers and food and utensils and plates and napkins, and we had a whole freaking picnic for like 10 people.
That's 10 people.
And then when we were done, everything back in the boot, and we were back on our way. I mean, it was the ultimate example of being prepared, being frugal, but creating this wonderful memory in a nondescript car park, as they would say, and then getting on our way to Edinburgh. Yeah. So my frugal Scottish relatives provided us a real fun memory.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Stephanie, for that.
Yeah, those are. I want my trunk to be empty enough to feed 10. First of all, to fit all those chairs and stuff. That's so cool.
I have a wonderful photo of my grandparents, and they are on the side of the road on Route 75. This is before I-75 was an interstate, and they were going from Michigan to Florida. They would go to Florida for the winter, but they're on the side of the road. They have the trunk open. But what's funny about this, my grandmother is leaning against the car, and they're sharing a beer that they're while they're driving down the road. Like they stop, they get into the ice box, and they crack open a beer.
Time.
And they take a little break. Yeah. Drinking and driving, not a great thing, but apparently in my family,
Long time ago.
It was. But isn't that interesting? The idea of just the road trip.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't have to be expensive. And imagine you're in Scotland with your Scottish relatives and you have this cool picnic.
I know. Stephanie, I want to see if we're related so I could visit our cousins in
know.
Scotland now and eat very well.
That'd be great. It was funny. My Uncle Dick is known as very, very cheap. And my Uncle Eddie and Aunt Sue and my Uncle Dick and Aunt Ruth, the two couples decided to go around the mitten, around Michigan, on a lighthouse tour, looking at different lighthouses. And what was funny about this trip, Crystal, was that my Uncle Eddie tells a story very well about just how cheap my Uncle Dick is. They stop at a Big Boy restaurant. You know, Big Boy restaurants?
Yeah, Frisch's. Yeah.
Yeah. So they stop at one of these restaurants. People that don't know, Big Boy, it's like Shoney's or what's another kind of Perkins maybe is a similar chain. Bob Evans.
Yeah. Bobby Vans.
Yeah. One of these, they serve a little bit of everything. So my Uncle Dick goes, "Hey, we're hungry. Why don't we stop?" And my Uncle Eddie goes, "Good idea." So my Uncle Eddie says, my Uncle Dick then pulls into the Big Boy parking lot, parks the car. And then my Uncle Eddie and Aunt Sue, they get out of the back seat and they start walking in. They get halfway across the parking lot and they realize my Uncle Dick and Aunt Ruth aren't with them. They turn around. Uncle Dick is opening the trunk of the car and he's getting into the trunk of the car. And Uncle Eddie goes, "Hey, aren't you going in?" He goes, "Oh, no, you guys go in. We got sandwiches." He pulls over at a restaurant and won't go in the restaurant. And by the way, they're on this lighthouse tour to go see lighthouses. Now, I understand if you just go and buy a random lighthouse, and they have these restoration fees. My Uncle Eddie said it was always $3 or $4, right? My Uncle Dick is so cheap. He refused to go in any of the lighthouses because he didn't want to pay the $3 or the $4.
What?
And by the way, if you're just going along and let's say you happen upon a lighthouse and it says $4, Crystal, I might not go up, right? I might go, yeah, no thanks. It isn't worth it to me. But you're on a
That's
damn
the whole point of
lighthouse
the trip.
tour. The whole
Oh
point.
man. I imagine getting to the first one, like, I didn't know there'd be $3 fees, and then would just change his whole.
Can you believe it?
That's like
Yeah.
an hours, days long thing, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not like a 1-day trip. It's like over.
Oh yeah. No, it was over days. And he's like, we planned this trip, and then he refuses to go in any of the lighthouses.
That's hilarious.
And we're here to see the lighthouses.
That is
Yeah.
so funny.
That was my Uncle Dick.
Like,
Other-
nope, you can't see our pictures. All the people that wanted to see went in.
Other funny story about my Uncle Dick. My Uncle Dick has known me obviously since I was born. When my Aunt Ruth died that year, my Uncle Dick sent us a Christmas card, which was nice. But the Christmas card said Joel and Cheryl Salcia, Joel. My Uncle
Not
Dick has
you.
known me since I'm born. At this point, I'm like 45 years old. He doesn't know my name. He has no idea what my name is.
Nice.
All right. Enough of that. But thank you, Stephanie, for that one.
Yes, thank you.
Let's play. We definitely, Crystal, we got time for one more. Let's hear
Yeah.
about Amanda's adventure in Scotland. Hey, Amanda,
Scotland.
how are you? By the way, Amanda,
Thanks,
I do
Amanda.
know who Amanda is. Amanda, by the way, is going to say during this that she does not like crowds. Do you know where Amanda lives?
The desert somewhere. Like Lake
Amanda
Powell.
lives in Antarctica.
Oh, cool.
She works in a research station in Antarctica. I actually met Amanda. I met her in Des Moines, Iowa. Randomly, she came to a Stacking Benjamins meetup
Cool.
in Des Moines, Iowa. I couldn't believe I got to meet her. But this is her from Antarctica. Hey, Amanda.
I may not remember everything that I'll try.
Here we go.
This is Amanda, and I have been to Scotland twice. I went once in January with a friend of mine, and a couple of years later in November on my own. And my biggest tip for traveling, just in general, is avoiding the peak season. I know Doug talked a lot about that, how everything is so busy. And I would say I didn't go anywhere that had anywhere near too many people, and I'm not a huge fan of people. So just those off times are wonderful. My trips.
I actually want to stop there because this is a place where Cheryl and I disagreed with kids. Obviously, if you don't have children, going off peak is fantastic. And I know since our kids have left the house that Cheryl and I going in September to places, you still get nice weather in the Northern Hemisphere. Actually, our trip to Peru, we were there in September, and kids are in school and families are not in vacation mode. And so because of that, to Amanda's point, you avoid a lot of these
People. People.
Now, but people though that have kids, this is where Cheryl and I disagreed, is that Cheryl never wanted to pull the kids out of school. And I think that if you have kids, the kid in 4th grade missing a week of school to go on a family vacation, I'm sure some teachers out there are going to feel differently than me, but I would totally pull them out. Cheryl never wanted to pull the kids out of school for a week. I was like, it's a week, big deal.
We were perfect attendance kids too. So
Were you?
I'm with Cheryl.
But do you like going to places not during peak
Definitely.
season?
Yes. I'm a huge off-peak kind of gal. I like to have, like the great service. I would like the place to myself almost just to enjoy. And too many crowds, it's a totally different experience for me. But I do like parties, stuff like that. But when it comes to sightseeing and tours, small but mighty, I think you do a lot.
Yeah, 100%. So Amanda, Crystal and I are with you. Let's get back
Yeah.
to Amanda's
People.
story.
taken me to Loch Ness. I did go and we looked at the lake, and there was no tourists there. And we did the whole like make a Loch Ness monster with your hand thing, and got a funny picture, but didn't see any monsters, sadly. But the Culloden battlefields are in that area, and they are really super interesting. I really enjoyed that. My kind of funny thing that happened, one of the things that I like to do when I go to foreign countries is I go to different churches, and they have a Church of England in the entirety of the UK. It's kind of all over the place, but there's also a Church of Scotland. And when I was there after the fact, they invited me down to have a cuppa. And so I went and had some tea and cookies and probably juice too. And
Wait a minute, Amanda. I think they're called biscuits. We said this earlier,
Cuppa,
but isn't it tea and biscuits? That's cookies.
tea and crumpet.
I do. That we maybe need somebody to verify that for us, but I believe in the
I
local
don't know.
colloquialism, it's tea and biscuits. But how cool. She goes to the church and she gets invited to place
Yeah.
with the locals. This, to me, by the way, Crystal, is where it gets really fun, is when you meet people locally that live there. It's so much better than just hitting the museum or seeing the statues or whatever it is. Getting
Yeah.
to know the people a little bit is, I think, to me, 100% of the fun of travel.
I love the locals. Yeah, same. Totally different experience with locals.
Yeah. All right, let's get back.
invited me to an afternoon roast for their young adult group. So I went to this afternoon roast for the young adult group, and it was about 10 miles away. So I piled into the car of a complete stranger, and we drove out to this family's house where this activity was happening. And they had a full-on afternoon roast, Sunday roast, which was delicious. Between
Hold on a second. Would you get in the car with a complete stranger in a foreign country, Crystal?
Oh yeah, been there, done that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Went off the reservation or the resort too. You're totally not supposed to do that. One of the police was like, "You got to meet me 3 blocks down so I don't get in trouble." And he had like this caravan with a broken sliding door. We're like, "Let's go."
Where were you at?
In Curacao.
This is in Curacao. Wow. Wow. You know, it's funny. I interviewed Joseph Rosendo, who has a PBS show called Joseph Rosendo's Kaleidoscope. And he's won all kinds of awards for his travel show. And Joseph said that things like you're talking about and like Amanda's talking about, getting to know the people is a big thing. And I asked him about safety. And he said, you know, maybe something bad happens. He goes, but the worst that in most cases would happen is that you're going to get ripped off. And he told this wonderful story about how in Cairo, he had this guide, and the guide tried to lose him on purpose 3 times to rip him off. The guy just wanted to take his money and rip him off. And Joseph kept finding the guy, and the guy then would apologize. And then he would try to rip him off again.
Oh
Try
my
to rip him off.
goodness.
And he's like, you know, what's funny? I have this wonderful story. And the guy ended up ultimately ripping him off. He goes, the guy stole $10 from me. He's like, but I got this great story out of it, and I had a great time. And he said, but in most cases, you know, 99% of people across the world are very honest, good people. Now, don't be Pollyanna, you know. Hey, you want some candy and get in the back of my van?
No, right. No.
Yeah. But like you could probably tell with this worker at the resort in Curacao,
He
you're
was
like,
like a kid. Yeah.
this is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had somebody leading us around a bazaar while we were in Egypt, while we were in Cairo. And this guy took us down the most narrow hallways. And some of the people I was with, they were freaking out because this guy was taking us, but he took us to this great spice shop we would have never found on our own. He took us through these beautiful fabric stalls that we would have never seen. And it was us and locals, which made it so fun. Just so fun. So Amanda, completely loving the story about hanging out with the youth group at a church.
At a roast.
Yeah. So let's find out what happened with Amanda and the roast.
the marrow and dessert pudding, we went on a walk just to let everything digest, I guess. And we ended up in the cemetery that was really close to the family's house. And in the cemetery, there was an old Roman road that was just through the cemetery, and you could still see the divots from the carriage wheels, not carriages, but whatever the vehicles were called in Roman times 2,000 years ago. You could still see those divots in the road, which was just super interesting. And
Wow.
I like hidden things and old things and um, stuff like that. So it was kind of fun.
I'm going to stop her for a second there too. The only reason she saw that was because the local people showed it to her.
Yep.
She would have never seen it. And some of the things that local people will show you that are off the beaten path, pretty awesome. We had an experience like this in the hill country in Texas. They had a visitor center in the town that we were staying in, and we Bandera, Texas. And Cheryl says, "Let's go in." And I'm like, I don't want to go in and talk to some tourism official guy. And we go in, and Cheryl just strikes up a conversation. Maybe within 10 minutes, the guy offers us VIP tickets to the rodeo that was happening. I'd never been to a rodeo before. I've been to one my entire life, and we got free VIP tickets, which included lunch or dinner rather, at the rodeo. It was fabulous. And it was all just because Cheryl walked in and wanted to talk to locals. So,
yeah. And I like, even here in Old Town, Alexandria, I love talking to tourists, and I usually I end up hanging out with tourists all night long too, myself.
it's a gorgeous town you live in.
Yeah, it's a fun town too.
Yeah.
There is some areas I show them, I'm like, all right, this looks like Rape Alley, but it's not. It's totally safe, but it's dark. You can hear a pin drop, and there's this scary tunnel too. It looks like Murder Tunnel, but it's not. It's super safe, but it's a cool thing to see.
And you take them down there and you steal their backpacks.
No.
No.
They're Twix, if they have any Twix. Come on.
That's what happened to the Twix. All right, Amanda, back to you.
That and the pudding that day was sticky toffee pudding, and it's a sugar overload. But if anyone ever asks you if you want it, you want it. It's so very good.
Ooh.
Just yum.
Yes.
Perfect. And after all of that, it was about 5 o'clock. We got back into the cars, and they were planning to go back to the church to go to another evening service. And my Sunday plans that day were go to church and then wander around the city and have a nice meal. And I got to wander around somewhere, and I did have a very nice meal with a lot of interesting people who were very nice. But the young adult group turned out to be people who, at that time, the leaders of the group were 4 years younger than me, and the actual people who were in the group were about 15 years younger than me. So it was a little weird, but it was a lot of fun. We had conversations, so it doesn't really matter what's age, right? So after that, we were going back to church, and I said, "Oh, I need to go. I can't go to church again on a single day." It was just, I probably could have, but it worked out. And they're just great group of people. Another time, one of the other things that I like to do is the free tours that they can take you on in government buildings. So I went to Holyrood, which is in Edinburgh at the end of the Marvelous Mile, or I don't know, the mile that they have there.
Let me stop right there. So Holyrood is a castle at the bottom of the High Street, which is that main street, the mile-long main street. It's at the bottom. At the top is Edinburgh Castle. So you've got the castle that Gwen and I were talking about before at the top of the street, but Holyrood down at the bottom is another beautiful castle. We took a tour there, and it was really interesting. When the Queen comes to Scotland, she will sometimes stay there. At least back when we were there, she did. Gorgeous, gorgeous place. Highly recommend going to Holyrood, and it's a nice walk down the hill to that beautiful place. So Holyrood. I'm glad to hear, Amanda, that you went there. Back to Amanda.
The main road in Edinburgh, and on the hill behind this government building, the person was talking about how you could walk up to Arthur's Seat, the back of the hill on the backside of this building. So I decided, yeah, sure, why not? I'm wearing a skirt and chacos, basically, and decided to do that. And it was not a great walk. So I went down the hill a different direction because it seemed a little less steep and muddy because it was where less people taking that direction. I don't know if you know this, but if you go down a hill a different direction, you end up in a very different place at the bottom of the hill. So I got a little lost, but I kind of like being lost when I'm traveling. That's another tip. Get lost once in a while. You can't get that lost, especially if you're just in a city or like in Venice on islands.
Oh, Amanda, thank you so much for that.
Oh, that was cool.
And great story. It's funny. Arthur's Seat, we did not go up Arthur's Seat. You can, it towers kind of over the town. And I think just the difference between Gwen and Arthur's Seat and Amanda was just comfortable shoes.
Yeah.
But you would get a beautiful view of the entire city, I think, from the top of Arthur's Seat. We never did make it out there.
Huh.
But very, very cool.
That was great. I like the free government building tours. I've still never been in the Pentagon, and they have free tours too. So that is another cool way to meet a cool tour guide too, because they can give you other tips. Because when I was in Paris, I did the Black Paris tour, and I ended up spending the entire rest of the day with the tour guide. And there was a couple, they were trying to hook me up with their son back in America. They're like, "Oh, you and my son would really hit it off." But it was a cool way to meet, a local. And yeah, she ended up taking me because I was like, I'm in France. I want to get a French manicure and French braids. And she took me where I wanted to go. So that was another cool thing about tours.
Well, that's a great idea that I never really thought of is, sometimes I'll ask them for like a dinner recommendation, but I don't think we ask the tour guide enough stuff. Like, hey, where do you like to go? Man, when we were in Colorado Springs and we took this wonderful electric bike trip around Garden of the Gods, which is a beautiful state park, but the guide for that showed us the best restaurant. It was an Alice in Wonderland themed place. And it's funny because it looks like you're going down a subway stop and you go down these stairs and underground is this whole restaurant that is, feels very speakeasy-ish, and there's all this weird Alice in Wonderland stuff all over the place as you go down the rabbit hole. Super.
Yeah, we have a speakeasy like that here too.
We would have
called Alice.
It's called Alice. That's funny.
Yeah.
I would have never gone to this restaurant if I hadn't asked the tour guide, to your point. But you didn't end up going on the date with the dude.
No.
With the son.
No.
You missed true love.
Right.
Yeah.
Who knows?
What could have been, Crystal? Thanks to everybody who took part. So our question for you, this is the first time that we've had a response episode. I hope that you guys like the response episode. We got more coming up. Go to stackingadventures.com/voicemail. And we have next week, we're going to talk about packing and we're going to talk travel hacks and tips. But if you've been to Japan and you'd like to give us your stories, like you heard stories today about Scotland, if you've been to Japan, you want to share your Japan story, stackingadventures.com/voicemail. If you've been to Peru or Chile, stackingadventures.com/voicemail. Just, you'll have 5 minutes. Tell us, Stephanie went a minute. Gwen and Amanda took 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So thanks to all them for sharing their stories.
We appreciate that.
It is awesome. But it's time for the main thing at the end of our shows, our gear of the day. So give me the clues again.
So it's an essential. I would definitely say it's a travel essential. You'll be glad you have it. It's super. It's literally like right there, right when you need it, especially if you want to hike, even going through the airport, travel days. Yeah, it's super. It doesn't take up a lot of space, I would say.
See, it's funny because I think I'm wrong with umbrella, but until you said that last part, well, I'm just going to stick with umbrella, but that's not it. But tell me, what is our gear of the day, Crystal?
Wrong. Yes, it is not. It is a bottle, like one of the portable. It actually carries your cell phone and water bottle.
Oh, look at that. What is that?
It's insulated too. It's insulated.
So it's a carrier for your water bottle.
Yes, it's a water bottle carrier bag, and it's insulated. It's made out of neoprene, and it has I love the shoulder strap because it is really thick.
Oh, Oh, that's cool. So you can just carry it around town, carry it down the bus.
Boom. And you can have it like, I like to keep the stuff hidden too, so it'll be under my jacket, like if I have on a jacket or something, so no one will come. Because that's the only bad thing. Someone will probably try to come snatch it if they see like you
Sure.
have like your wallet and everything. Because then if you forget it, you've lost everything. But the water bottle part is the best because you have water now with you all the time.
Which is fabulous. You know, it's funny. We just as people, we don't get as many steps as we should on a daily basis. And so I know when we were traveling, you know, in South America, I was logging close to 20,000 steps a day, and I was
Nice.
thirsty a lot.
See, and you have your refillable water bottle so you could fill it up or buy a water somewhere and just dump it in your bottle and keep it moving.
That's fabulous.
Another trick that I do too, like for the airport lounges, a lot of people, they didn't know this, but a lot of times when you land, if there's an airport lounge like at that airport, I usually go when I land to get bottles of water and like snacks and stuff for my hotel room.
So
And a lot of people
you
don't know
also
that.
eat sometimes,
Oh yeah, I'll eat too.
right when you get off the plane.
Definitely. Yep. So don't forget that if you have the airport lounge access, go when you land too.
Which nobody does. I always go
Yeah,
before.
I
I'd
do.
never go after. You blew my mind when
I
you told
go
me
when
that the
I
first time.
land. Yeah.
Well, there's one hack. We're going to have more hacks next week, more travel hacks and packing hacks. But you will find the water bottle carrier along with all of our other past gears of the day at stackadventures.com/gear of the day or GOTD. You know, if you go there, not only are you going to find great stuff because we have used these things, this gear, but you also help the show. So
Yeah.
because Amazon, it's the same price as if you go to just directly to Amazon, but they give us a little affiliate thank you. So thanks for helping out, keeping us podcasting. I think, Crystal, that's it.
That's
We
a
did
wrap.
it.
Yeah.
So she's Crystal.
And I'm Joe. He's Joe. Like a habit.
We'll see you next time adventuring, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks.